The Parades pack for Planet Coaster 2 is out now, so let's do what we do when we always get a new DLC. Go back and rebuild everything we've done so far. Hello you, welcome to Geekism, and welcome to the great big DLC rebuild. Actually, it's not that bad, this one, to be fair. I have a habit of going back and changing loads when we get a new DLC, and I'm surprised I didn't want to do more with this. There's probably a few little bits and bobs throughout the park, because the Parades pack is fantastic. It is the best DLC that they've ever put out for Planet Coaster 1 or 2, I think. And it suits MeanderVille really well, so I wanted to go in and make some changes, big and small. The first one, as you can see, we're moving some of the beautiful flowers that I did alongside the help of Mike Sheets very early on. I've kept them though. We may well reuse them at a later point somewhere else in the park, but I wanted to make the lake here that the carousel looks over a lot bigger, for a few different reasons. First of all, the scope of the park, the scale of everything, isn't really getting much bigger than I thought it would. I'm managing to keep everything fairly reined in right now, but it did start to dwarf the lake here in the middle a little bit. It felt just like a little sort of wading pool compared to a lot of the other space we were working with, so I wanted to sort of make it a little bit more grandiose. So in general, it was something I've been looking at doing for a little while, but the Parades pack was the thing that kind of gave me the boost to really go for it. For two reasons. One, I adore the trolley that we got in the Parades pack, the electric trolley. I think it's beautiful. I think it's very well designed, and I think it works perfectly for a park of this sort of scale. So I wanted to build that, but it needed somewhere to go, and right now, with just a small circular little lake in the middle, it didn't really have anywhere to go. So part of this is so that there is a nice little loop now that the tram, sorry, that was half trolley, half tram. The tram or trolley can go up to the other end of it, and then loop back round, and there's a reason for people to ride it, and it looks nice, gives a little bit of kinetic movement throughout this area of the park. So a lot had to change here. One was the this lake border had to change. I'm still happy with how this looks. I think if I did it again now, I probably wouldn't use this in-game fence. I think I would do something custom. But with a lot of this stuff, I think I've said this a few times in different videos, is that you kind of have to pick your battles, and I think if you custom fenced everything in the park, your computer would explode. So sometimes in-game ones are fine. So sometimes we'll use the in-game fence pieces, sometimes we'll use the in-game path fences, the ones that sort of actually generate against the side of the path, and then sometimes we'll do our own custom one, and I think a mix of the three is where you really need to sit for your computer temperature and your sanity. We're starting to get a bit of a graveyard over in the corner there, for just bits that I don't want to use right now but want to keep. We are going to have to find a place for that to go, because that's going to become the another area of the park now. And then here we start putting the trolley down, and I do come to a bit of an issue with this that I imagine a lot of folks who are using track rides on path, in that it's got to be real flat, and you'll see there the whole track is built now. That's because there was about 2 hours of footage that I don't want to put you through, and I don't want to watch myself, because it was a lot of work. Basically, I had to rebuild the entire path of that plaza area, which is already a pretty funky shape, just to make it so that the trolley would sit nice on it. I'm not using the trolley that has path on it like the Parade does, because the railings on the track, then they sit so high. They're like a good sort of 3 inches high, I guess, and it just looks like a tripping hazard. I think it is pretty well implemented, this pack, honestly. Like I said, it is my favourite pack. I think it's really fantastic, but there are little things that are a bit of an issue for me, and one of them is the fact that the train tracks, they just sit really tall. So what actually all we've got there is regular path, and then the ride is just sunk underneath the pack slightly. If you want to do something like that yourselves, you may have to make sure there's one of the collision settings turned off somewhere. So I went and did that. It wasn't too much of a big problem, but we did have to make sure that the path there was very flat, and a couple of places it wasn't, so it did need an entire rebuild. In a couple of episodes ago, I put in some jumping water fountains using some fish that were a little similar to the Alton Towers frogs. I have kept those. I do want to reuse them. I think they could work well in the pirate area. I may well try and refurbish them over there. But as you can see here, we just needed the space for the trolley and for the parade, and those are two things that definitely need to be in this main area, whereas everything else could be somewhere else. So all we're doing here is making some some slight adjustments to the food places on either side of this area here. So the conservatory's balcony just gets shrunken in a little bit. Some of the path seating gets moved around to the other side of the conservatory, which will lead into Keladin, our Arabian Nights area. And on the other side, the ice cream lineups just get shrunk down a little bit. It was just a little bit of a squeeze with the trolley, so making these few changes here just opened up that space a little bit, and I let our trolley run through it. Originally I had 2 separate lines for the trolley moving there and back, but I think we're going to try and have just 2 trolleys on the track, and so they'll always sort of be opposite each other. And so there is a single piece of track here. Well, it is actually 2 pieces still, but it's overlapping so that it looks like 1 piece of track you'll see there. So it's either got the trolley coming in and out, and then there'll be little junction boxes somewhere for the tram driver to decide whether he's going left or right out of this line. And I think that looks quite realistic. I did a lot of looking around at different tram systems around the world, and that seems to be how they're often used in turnarounds. It's one line going in, then they split off either way, depending on what you're doing. And I had a good look at the Disney one as well. A couple of times I just kept worrying that the clearance wasn't really there, but there are a few spots where honestly it gets a little bit closer than you'd think. The other thing I did was turn down the speed of the trolley, which you don't actually do on the trolley itself. You have to do it in the track pieces. There's like an entry and exit speed of the track pieces. So you basically just highlight all of the track pieces and then drop that down. So it moves about as slow as it can go, and I think that's about as fast as I'd want it to, honestly. Looking at how it moves, it goes fairly swift. I couldn't imagine using it any quicker. I suppose if you weren't using it on path and were doing something like they did on their demo park, where it's mostly sort of above, higher up, and it sort of crosses over the path, then you could probably speed it up a little bit. But I do think if you're working with path trolleys, you're going to want to knock that speed down a little bit. Alright, so the station then is going to sit in front of the chair swings ride and the sort of lost and found. So I really sort of ummed and ahed about the placement of this. This is pretty much the only place it can go without taking it down the sort of main strip. And I really wanted to keep it out of the way of the parades, because I knew there'd be no way to really control that. I don't think, even with like event sequences, I don't think you can sort of turn off a flat transport ride for a while whilst the parade goes around. So there's always be a chance that they bash into each other, or actually more likely they would just run through each other, wouldn't they? But it wouldn't look very realistic, I don't think. So I wanted to keep them in sort of separate spots there. And so this was the only real spot for it. So I did really and ah about this, but I decided in the end that it can work here as long as the station is fairly what's the right word for this? It's sort of inconsequential, I suppose. So I didn't want a big building here. I certainly didn't want anything too grandiose. I kind of wanted to keep it to wrought iron and glass, so as that firstly it kind of gives the vibe of this sort of alternate reality Victorian, which is kind of what we have going on now in the MeanderVille main area, based on the redo of all of the roofs and the ride selection here and the frontage. We're kind of going for a. I don't think it's fair to call it steampunk, but it definitely has that kind of vibe, because that's another sort of alternate reality Victorian. But I think a little bit more sort of epic universe. I just really like that style, and I think this works quite well with it. And the pack itself is full of stuff that works well with it. I'm really impressed with the small town scenery in general, to be honest. Obviously it's going to be perfect for your Main Street USAs or similar builds, but also it's going to work really well for steampunk, arcane punk, anything like that. I think there's a lot of stuff there that's going to be useful for spooky builds as well, especially like a traditional haunted manor type build, haunted mansion or what have you. Like, it's just very, very serviceable and useful, and it's just a really great set. I had a lot of fun playing around with the iron pieces here, seeing how they all sort of fit together, how we can use these poles that we use all the time for everything alongside them, and I think overall it all fits together really quite nicely. I'm a big fan of what I did here. So we're going to put a glass roof on it in a moment, and originally, I think there is footage of it, the glass roof is going to go over the guests. end up taking that away. One, because I feel like it might be a bit of a hot box to sort of stand there under some glass, especially if the weather's really nice. But also, it just makes the building a little too grandiose. And I wanted to sort of have it sort of fit into the space. And obviously, it's going to be a new presence that wasn't there before. But the idea with MeanderVille is that it is meant to be a master planned park. The idea being that this opens day one and looks like this, as opposed to Pinewood Hills and other projects in the past where they sort of develop over time. I want this very much just like an Epic Universe or like a Disney park. Obviously they always add new stuff and there's new rides and new areas, but on day one they open the park and it's, for all intents and purposes, it's the sort of floor plan that it's always going to be, other than sort of adjustments and new areas. So that's kind of what I wanted to do here with MeanderVille. I want, even though it's open now and there are guests walking around, the idea, the concept behind this is that it is day one. When we finish the park, that's what it would look like when it opened, if that makes sense. There are guests in here now because I think the kinetic energy of the guests is very important for inspiration. Just kind of keeps you sane, to be honest, just seeing people wandering around. I think without that it would look very empty and very sterile a lot of the time. And then also it's important to see whether clearance is good in certain areas, whether they actually can get around. It helps with scale. There's a lot of reasons why I think it's a good idea to get guests into a park as soon as you can, even if you're like me, trying to do this build it all and have it finished as it opens, kind of thing. I don't know much to say about this, really. I'm just, because of cracking on with it, I'm really happy with how it turns out. The wrought iron stuff is amazing. I would maybe just love some very plain pillars and like planks, for want of a better word, I guess, with the same texture as all of the wrought iron stuff, because it's difficult to kind of line it all up. I think I do a pretty decent job with the colours here, but there's a few places where you can just kind of tell it's more of a plasticky texture or more of a wood texture. I really think I'm nitpicking there, but I'm trying to find things to talk about. There you can see we start the glass. It goes over the trolley and the queue area there. Later on, I keep it over the trolley. I think it looks great, the glass. I think it's very Victorian train station, which is kind of what I was going for here, and I think it works really well. If you think of something like Preston train station in the north of England, has this kind of beautiful domed glass roof with lots of wrought iron. So we're happy with how it came out. I just think it was a little too much having it on the queue line as well. Love that new fence piece. The new small town fence piece is going to be very useful, I think. All right, here then. So at this point, I'd finished this area. I'd finished the station. I was going to go and move on to something else, and I shared a picture on Bro Nation. And before anyone even commented on it, looking at the picture, I went, "Oh, this isn't quite right." And Mineral made a good point. He said, like, this happens a lot. Just sometimes getting the image or the thing you've created, the music, the artwork, the video game, whatever, getting it out of the sort of situation it's in and seeing it sort of in the cold light of day, I suppose, for want of a better term, you'll just start to notice things that you'll do differently. So I put it up and I was like, hey, look at this. And before even anyone could comment saying it was good or bad or whatever, I looked at it myself and went, no, this needs to have something else. So first bit was having the glass taken off it from the queue line, and then I shared it again. And again, before I could really anyone could say anything, I looked at it and was like, nope, it's still not enough. It looked too plonked. The station just looked too out of place. It didn't look like it was fitting into the space properly. Stylistically it was good, but it still just looked like a platform on the ground. I understand the limitations of the game in that it requires a form of station, but it is tricky to tie those in when in real life this would literally just be probably a little sign and a bit of rope to make a queue line that says stand here if you want to catch the tram when it comes around, but here obviously with the game you need to have the station. You don't actually need a queue line, to be fair. I did use one because I wanted the line of people, but if you don't use a queue line, they just kind of bunch up around the entrance, so you can get away without a queue line if you want to, but for me it didn't quite work. I added it in, but overall I'm happy with it how it came out. You'll get to see it in a little moment when I show you some of the glass glamour shots. All right, moving on. I love the barbershop guys. I wish they didn't have the sticks of the butts, but otherwise I think they're fantastic, and I really wanted to implement them into the park. Again, it's just another way of creating a little bit of movement, a little bit of kinetic energy, and another thing that isn't a ride. And I'm a big believer in that. I ask for it all the time, so I feel like when I'm provided it, I should use it. And also, I'm building MeanderVille as a long-term project, and I'm using the pieces to build how I want it to look. But I also just like new toys, and we had a new DLC, and I want to use the pieces of the new DLC. And if it really didn't fit MeanderVille, I'd maybe go off and do something in its own build or whatever. I didn't really do that much with the toy box theme because I just wasn't really into it, and it certainly didn't really work for MeanderVille, honestly. But this pack just does. Like the style of this pack fits in beautifully. So I thought, well, I'm going to want to use it. So we add in a barbershop. So first of all, this pillar I made here, like 7 pieces, and it's fairly plain and it looks fine. This other one that's come with parade packs looks amazing, and it looks perfect, and it fits the theme. It's got circular motif that we're using around the place. So I'm just going to go in and replace them. So yeah, part of it is because I think it looks better. Part of it's just because I want to play with the new toys, and I think that's fair. I don't know. You tell me whether that's acceptable or not. I enjoyed putting these together. It just gives a little bit of pop, a little bit of texture, a little bit of detail that wasn't there before, for less piece count. Overall, I think it works out really well. So yeah, I wanted to do the barbershop, and I feel like there is precedent for this kind of thing in MeanderVille already. The strip around the corner here, sort of past what is now the tram trolley station, there is a bakery, there is an ice cream parlor, there is a candy shop, there is a restaurant, and then this strip is actually pretty empty in comparison. So I decided that I've already got a few sort of shop facades that are all part of one building. There's no reason why we can't carry that over here. So this is actually on the side of the Worlds of Wonder gift store, the sort of main gift store of the park. That isn't actually quite finished yet, honestly. Some of the interior is done, but there isn't actually a functional gift shop in it. That is one thing I'm going to go back and put in pretty soon, because I want some guests to be on this side of the street. They currently don't spend much time over here. There's no real reason for them to. They come in and then they walk down the other side because that's the sort of shortest point from A to B. I would love the guests to meander a little more around MeanderVille. But unfortunately, Planet Coaster guests, they have a bit of a one-track mind. They're deciding where they're going. It makes sense. Once the park is busy and there's lots of people around, as long as you space out stuff pretty well, it doesn't look wrong. The guests sort of mill about and do what they're trying to do, and they do it fairly low computationally, I suppose, because they just kind of pick where they're going and they go for it. I imagine if you had to code in their ability to wander around a little bit more and sort of just interact with scenery without the use of things like vista points, that would probably make a lot more computational power happening. So overall, I'm happy with what they do, but it does mean you have to kind of bear that in mind a little bit and make sure there is stuff anywhere. Saying that, that's probably similar to regular theme park design. Honestly, you have to make sure there's a reason to go these places, because otherwise they end up empty. How many of you have potted around Epcot and been sort of, to the back of the Moroccan pavilion, for instance, and randomly found that little museum that's back there, because you just wouldn't know it was there. It isn't very well advertised, and there's a few points like that throughout Epcot where you just end up with these little sort of ghost town areas because there just isn't the big attraction there. So arguably it makes sense that the guests don't really care for them that much either as well. So, but I think if we add a large gift shop over this side of the park inside Worlds of Wonder and just sort of finish that off, basically, I think that'll help get people over here. We also add down a couple of vista points for the barbershop. So occasionally you'll get people make their way over here. Love these new plinths. I was watching Mass Bandit video and he was saying that these plinths that have made up this the roof here are the goat of the set. Honestly, there's so many pieces I love. I think the big glass ball is perfect. Those plinths are really great. There's no way of sort of editing this to be neat, so I'm just gonna let you know I had a power cut just then. So I luckily it was all backed up, so I but the audio just cut off there. So this is me finishing off the last bit of this audio about 25 minutes later once I've gone round and set the clock on the oven and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of forgot what I was talking about. Anyway, we're building barbershop. All the pieces are great. The barbershops, I mentioned this in the overview video. They're not necessarily a step forward or a step back. They're just a sort of step sideways. They're not on a huge stage anymore, which is great. We get to build our own stage like I've done here. But they have their sticks up the butts, which is weird. 2 of them are female, but with fake mustaches, which I don't really get either. Just give me 8. Give me 4 feminine-looking ones. Give me 4 masculine-looking ones. Let me pick what I want to do with them. That sort of stuff is a little awkward, especially when you can be so creative. It's a shame that we get these little weird sort of harnesses on what we're able to do, Then finally, you have to have one of these things outside of a barbershop. This, I wasn't too sure how I was going to make this, and then I remembered that one of the pieces is basically perfect. This thing is just called like Helix column, I think. It's one of the parade pieces, and it's exactly what we needed it to be. This is a nice big one. The building, by the way, if you don't recognize it, it's loosely based off the barbershop at Disneyland. Which is actually functional. You actually go and get your hair cut in there, which is crazy to me. This one isn't. Obviously, this is just a facade on the side of the gift shop. Basically, it's a stage. We're building a stage, but with slightly themed area. But yeah, that thing is perfect there to make the red and white spiral thing there. It's because they used to be bloody rags. I'm only saying that because otherwise people will all tell me in the comments. That's one of those things that people love telling you, isn't it? Last little bit of detail here then, finishing off this side of the strip. I'm not going to do too much down here because it really does depend on what the next areas look like and how they tie into this area, but I just honestly kind of needed the thumbnail of the trolley, and I thought this was a nice spot with Astrolore and Testudo in the background. Haven't named the pirate ride yet. That's probably going to be the next thing I work on. I obviously was waiting for the parades pack to sort of see what that looked like before I really got into a new bit. Like before we knew it was parades, I was holding off just in case it was, something else. I could really see like an adventure set. A lot of the sets we've had so far have been similar to other sets. Sorcery was a little similar to Spooky, Parades is a little similar to Vintage. I'd love to see a set that's a little bit similar to Adventure, give me like a port of entry style area, scenery. That'd be great. So I'd love to see something like that. But yeah, this has been perfect for the main street, but now we've got it, I can get working on other bits. So I want to start tying up the pirate area, and then I really want to do some work on Keladin, the Arabian Nights area as well, that I have started in the background. You'll see occasionally. Finish it off with some lovely lampposts. These look very sort of Efteling to me. Again, some of this might move when we sort of join it all up together, but for now this is how it's going to get placed down. And then we jump back to the trolley itself and add some slight detail. I don't think it needs much, honestly. Could maybe do with a few more lights around the top so it looks a bit more impressive at night time. But honestly, I just wanted to kind of give it a little bit of branding. So that banner along the bottom there is just made in Photoshop. It's 5 screens put together. It's way too much work. Don't bother doing it. I only do it because, looks good on the thumbnail. All right, I'm going to show you some glamour shots, and I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm going to shut up because we've got some new music from our awesome composer Alex, who's done a re-record of the entrance area music. It's now on a longer loop. And honestly, I'm just feeling some vibes with this stuff, so I want to leave you with it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Till the next one, be good.